If you want to make it, if you want to run it as a CentOS, you add group called Docker, add this CentOS into the group called Docker, and then run it. No problem. You have to re-log in, by the way. So please remember. So Docker info is a command which I'm going to run it and see that. Now, guys, I will request you to spend much time here. This is the client information. This is the server information. Containers running, pause, stop, every information you have it. You may not understand initially, but it's just like you are getting into the new technology. Slowly you'll get comfortable with it. Okay, so this is the info. Now, which is the versions which we have? So Docker version, and you see here Docker, we have a client version which is 20x, server version is also. Docker help is a favorite command of mine, all the commands you have here. And then that's all. So these are the commands you must run in order to, in order to verify Docker installation. How do we install it? I'm sharing these notes here. Done. So how to install Docker? Are you comfortable now, guys?
Yes.
Now, guys, I'm to show you these components also. I'm the human being. I hope. Yeah. Yes. Correct. So here, this is me, and I'm running Docker command. So where is the Docker, by the way? So which is a Docker? So which Docker? See here. And which is the Docker D? So which Docker D? See the locations. See here. If you must be seeing this is a running also because I've just run, right? Docker. See here, Docker D is running. Now, which container D? Which container D? See here. And container D also will be running in the backend as a process. See here. Simple. So this all things we got it. Kernel, you know that anyways it has is there. So this is the command I run. I'm writing all these commands. So while doing the lab, you will run these commands also. Okay, so I hope this installation part and verifications part is clear. Now, next question is workflow of Docker. That's the thing. And here, life cycle of container. That's the next question. And the one more questions I'm having. Workflow is done. Life cycle is done. And before that, there's one more question which we have: components of Docker. These are the three questions I must answer with you, to you, all of you, in the next 15 minutes. But before that, any questions, any doubts, any clarification you need? Any questions, any doubts?
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, so just for recapping, anyone will ask you, hey, tell me what is a Docker? So you say Docker is a container management tool. Okay, wonderful. But why do we need it? To reduce the operating system burden for running applications, multiple in a data centers. Okay, second question, what is a container? Then you can say take functional definitions. Those who are managers, you can use this one. Container is a lightweight application runtime environment powered by Docker in a kernel environment or operating system. Those who are technical software engineers, okay, hardcore tech guy, then you can say, hey, container is nothing but one resources of user from user namespace, one resources for the MNT, one resources for network, one resource for paid tree, and all this consolidated and run with the help of kernel. Docker, the Docker asks container D asks a kernel, and this is running independently, and that's the independent runtime environment of that particular user of that that all the resources is a container. Okay, so I hope you remember all the stuff. So now, with that, let's discuss about components of Docker. So guys, let me tell you here in a simple way. If you know these 4 components, you are finished with the Docker. What are those? So first thing, Docker engine. Second thing, Docker images. Third thing, Docker registry. And fourth thing, Docker container. That's all. So these are the four terminologies you need to run. My questions to you is, do you know, don't you know Docker engine? What is a Docker engine? Tell me.
Docker D.
Understood, all of you?
Yes.
So Docker engine contains Docker client and Docker D.
Docker D.
Simple.
Docker client.
Simple. So you know that, right? Done. Clear? All of you?
Yes. Yes.
So now if someone will ask you, hey, what is a Docker image? Many definitions are there, okay? First thing, I'll put it in a very simple way. Do you know VM's image? The operating system, the VM which you create. So VM's image contain all these four file systems. Boot file system plus root file system plus user file system plus application file system. So here boot means kernel, root means C drive or OPT, temp, blah blah. Users means one users can be there, and applications of LS, CAT, these all are applications. Apache, MySQL. So this contains in the VM's image. Now Docker image contains what? Any idea? Any idea? I have answered this question.
Root plus user plus app file system.
Wonderful. Remember that Docker image do not contain boot, because remember that why I'm saying every container, mind it here, every container would get one MNT. One MNT. Remember that one MNT I've been telling you, one MNT here. Correct? Here you see one MNT here. Correct now? So here every container would get one MNT is equal to one copy of image, Docker image attached to user container. Are you understanding now? That means what will happen? You have 5 container, 5 copy of image will get attached to those containers. Simple. So image is, see, whatever you have an image, whatever you have in an image, you see inside a container. I'll show you that during term. Okay. Simple way. Whatever you have in a VMs, you see inside a VMs, virtual machines. Whatever you have in a VM image, you see inside in a virtual machine. Same concept. Whatever you have in the Docker image, you will see inside a container. So if you have a Docker image, here I'll give you some examples also. This is a Ubuntu is a root file system. Now in the container world, if someone will ask you, hey, Ubuntu is operating system. So actually no, Ubuntu is a root file system. Operating system, the one which we say is a kernel. And here, let's say username is root. And let's say you are running up HTTP. One more example I will give it. Here, this is a CentOS file system, root file system. This can be, let's say, MySQL. And here it can be MySQL. Are you understanding, all of you?
Yes.
Okay, so image the one which contains root plus user plus application, whatever is there in the image, you get inside in a container. Why? Because every container would get one copy of image, one mount. I hope it's clear for all of you, don't you? All of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now the question is, what is the registry? So guys, what is the registry? See, you need a VM's image. Where do you go? Probably you go to the some places where you have a collections of VMs easily available. Now let's say if you need a Docker image, where would you go? you need a Docker image. Where would you go? That's the question. So
Docker
guys,
Hub.
that's where the registry is coming into the picture. So there's a two kind of registry, guys. Public, accessible by everyone. Private, accessible by only your organization. For example, Docker Hub is a public. Google Registry is a public. AWS ECR is public. Okay, these are the public registry. What are the private registry you can create? From Artifactory, you can do that. Nexus, you can do that. I'll teach you Artifactory also in this session. I mean, in this course, next to next session, next week, and so forth. Okay, so these are the public registry. These are the private registry. For time being, we are going to use public registry. Let me go and hit to the Docker Google and click on this. And can you please read this? How many registry? How many images you have? Look at this. One lakh images you have. Docker Hub is the world's largest library and community for container images. So guys, many people, they see MySQL, they feel happy. Okay, MySQL container I can create. Golang container you can create. HTTPD container you can create. But many people see that here Ubuntu, so they say, hey, I am going to create a container of Ubuntu operating system. Is that right a statement? Tell me.
No.
So here what you get? Ubuntu root file system, not operating system, not a kernel. You get it. Please remember that. That's the difference. I want to stress all of my participants. Do not think container have operating system. Why? Because container have image have no root file system, boot file system. Sorry, no boot file system. The difference between the VM's image and Docker image is only that VM image contains the boot file system, which is kernel. Docker image do not contain the boot. It starts with the root. There is a difference between the boot plus root. Correct now? All of you understand this? So when I say Ubuntu or CentOS or Fedora or Debian or SUSE or Windows, do not think it's operating system image. It is a root file system plus user plus few applications. ls, cat, more, less is that, top, free. Make sense?
So this is a vanilla container on top of which we can deploy your apps or tools.
What is a vanilla?
Okay, it's a plain simple container on which, as per your application requirement, you can deploy the additional tools.
Oh yeah. Right? So in a simple way, Ubuntu image means Ubuntu. I'm writing it here. Please do not make a mistake. So understanding is important. Here, Ubuntu root file system. When I say CentOS Docker image means only CentOS root file system. Now, what is the root file system? I have shown you one image. I will show you one more time. See this, the one. What you see every day. C drive is a root file system. Make sense, guys, all of you?
Yes, clear.
Wonderful. So, guys, do not make a mistake. Ubuntu is not operating system here. It's an image which contains Ubuntu root file system. Okay. So now it's clear. Now the question was, what is a registry? So yes, Docker Hub is a registry. Google Registry, AWS CR is a registry. These are the private registry which can be used for the project. Now, guys, one more thing I must tell you here. There's a concept you need to understand. Every registry, you know what? They have a repository. Please hear this very carefully. Very important theory. I'm telling you. So registry contains repository, and repository contains, you know what? Version of file system. Important. This we call it image. I'm not confusing you, but I don't know how many of you have understood this. See, all of you have used the GitHub.
Yes, I used.
Okay. GitHub contains what?
Images.
No. GitHub, sir. GitHub. Repository. So GitHub contains repository, and repository contains what? Tell me.
Previous versions and
Yeah. Git repository contain
The
different versions.
yes, version of file system. Got it? Correlate, create a memory, some pointers in your mind. Docker image, what? So registry have repository, repository have contains the version of file system, and so here GitHub is a registry, repository. GitHub has a repository, repository contains the version of file system, and this is something similar. I repeat, please mind it here. That is something similar we have at here also. So hub.docker.com, this is the place if you go and search for, let's say, HTTPD, and here this is your, see, hub.docker.com is a registry, this is your repository. Please understand that repository. I can log in and show you that you can create a repository, few more. Not now, I don't want to complicate, but just for your memory pointer, I'm telling you, here also you create a repository. See here, where to go and create a repository. Where? I logged in, and after that, see here, this is the organization, and see here, create a repository. Are you understanding? The pattern is very simple. So GitHub, Docker Hub is a registry, contain repository. This HTTP, whatever I was showing you, that was a repository actually. Okay, this is the repository. Okay, now this repository contains what? Version of file system. Versioning is done, and this versioning itself is called an image. So image is what? Give you the little bit more perspective. Image is, I'm giving you another perspective here. Image is having multiple version of file system. Example, I'll tell you, don't worry. Example means they have initially Ubuntu. I'm giving Ubuntu stick. On top of that, you install Java. On top of that, you install Tomcat. On top of that, you install your applications. So this is a one file system, which is a root. I'll write it. This is a root file system. And then this is an application file system. This is also one application file system. And this is also an application file system. Are you understanding the things what I'm trying to say? It's very important concept, but trying to be little bit in a short way. Make sense, all of you?
just clear.
yeah.
So guys, functional definition, if someone asks you, hey, tell me what is a Docker image? You should say, don't say Docker image is having containing operating system. No, Docker image containing the root file system, user file system, application file system, and these all file systems coming together and creating one image that you can push it to the registry, such as Docker Hub. Now, these file systems are versioned, and this example of this file system, it can be, for example, Ubuntu root file system, Java application file system, Tomcat application file system, application. On top of that, you can run that, whatever it is. So all these things, you can keep it in one version also, but typically we keep it in a different version. So we keep it version of root file system, then we create a version of Java, then Tomcat, then application. Why? So if you keep it in a separate, it'll be easy to upgrade and then debug and troubleshoot and change something which you wanted. For example, if you want to do the Tomcat upgrade, you take it up to here. If you want to do this application upgrade, so you take it up to here, like that. So it's a versioning. So here, registry contains the repository contains the version of file system. These are the file system, and that we call it image. I hope it should be clear for everyone. Correct now?
Yes, clear.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, guys, what is a container? I will not tell you, but I'll just revise that so you'll remember that. Multiple times I have said multiple times. So container means this is a fourth component, right? Yeah, this is a fourth component. So you send, hey Docker, this is the Docker, okay, client. Hey Docker, give me a container of HTTPD. So what you did? Simply you said, simple command you said, Docker run HTTPD. Simple. So now this command is sent through APIs to Dockerd. Dockerd send that to the containerd, and containerd send to the kernel, and kernel will create simple. I'll put it visualizations here. Will create because of that one request, one user, and one MNT separately they will create. One MNT means root file system, aka root file system, and one network they will create. All these are done by kernel, remember that. And one PID they will create. Now, last what they will do after the creation, they will attach one MNT plus one network plus one PID to one user. That's all is equal to container. I hope by now it should be 100% clear what is a container.
Yeah.
All of you?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now guys, these are the four components. I will revise it. A Docker engine, which you need to install, Docker image, which you need to have a container, then a Docker registry from where you download the images, and Docker container. The moment you run images, you get a container. How I have explained you in detail. So what to do now? So guys, workflow one more time of Docker. So here what happens when you run this command, please remember that when you run this command, what happens? There's one work is done by Dockerd. So see, Dockerd send a request to Docker containerd, but before that Dockerd is doing one thing, and that I did not mention because of this topic. So Dockerd check HTTPD image exists in local or not. If it exists, yes, then move to this one. If no, then what happens? Docker download that image, download from hub to local machine, and then this one. Do let me know if you understood or not. This is a workflow. Are you understanding, guys? All of you?
Is there a configuration? Is there a configuration which hub it should be reaching out to if the local copy?
Very good question. Very good question. Docker Hub is default with the hub.docker.com. That's a set configuration. If you want to change it, yes, very much you can tell, hey Docker, don't go to the hub.docker.com. Go to the this one. What is it? Google Rest. You can do that. Okay, I'll tell you one more tricks here. See here, Docker run when you say, so directly it will run default. Go to Docker Hub. Go to Docker Hub. Now, you know what? If you give full path, something like this. Something like this. Then it will go to your custom registry. Make sense?
Okay.
That's the one trick, but you can change the default registry also. Where is that? Let me show you here. So guys, here Docker info, you search for it, and I asked you to read this, but right now this is the one. This is the hub address actually, API address. Okay, so guys, all of you are understood that. Let me revise one more time. I discuss about what is Docker in detail. I discuss about why do we need a Docker. Then I discuss about the characteristics of container, and then discuss about the architecture of Docker. Then we install the Docker, and then we discuss about the components of Docker, which include engine, images, registry, and container. And then finally, we discuss for the workflow of the Docker. Docker also download the images before creating a container. And then finally, this is the one topic which I must tell you and to get started. Are you comfortable? Any questions, any doubts and stuff like that?
That's okay.
A couple of questions which might not be directly related. So what is Docker CLI and Docker Desktop? These are client tools, or is it
Okay,
these are
so
engines?
Docker Desktop, what they have done, this is for Windows actually, and for Mac. I think it's for Linux. I don't know, but I have
This is for Windows.
yeah, no, we have a Mac also, for Mac also.
Okay.
Okay, now using that, it has a multiple software and multiple components are there. So it has a Docker client, Docker. There's one GUI also there, and then we have Docker Compose also. You'll get it, and Swarm also you'll get it. All this software together you get it. But right now I'm teaching you Docker client. I mean Docker, pure Docker engine.
So Docker engine is not there in Docker Desktop?
Of course, there, without that will not work. No?
Okay,
It has combined multiple software and offering as a one solutions to the Windows developers and Windows users and Mac users.
okay.
Yeah, it's just a same way. I mean, it just make it things. People love Windows, right? And people get scared from the Linux. So because of that, they give
Yeah.
this Docker for Windows. Docker for Windows supports the VM. Okay, please understand that VMs. Which VM? So default is Hyper-V, but you can also change to this VirtualBox, the one which I taught you last weekend's VirtualBox. Okay, so VirtualBox. You can understand. You can read more about it. It's a development tool for say Docker for Windows. Sorry, my bad. Docker for Windows, here it is. Now, if you see that, see here, this is a Hyper-V backend for Windows container and VirtualBox virtualization here. They required that. So I have used this one with the VirtualBox because that is easier. So you can select this which hypervisor you want. So Docker Desktop will not work without a hypervisor. It is required hypervisor. Either you use the built-in, which is Windows with Hyper-V, or they have changed a little bit of here. I see that. So here, and these all virtualizations you have to enable it. And let me search for VirtualBox. VirtualBox. In this page is not there. Probably. Okay, so this is completely focused on Hyper-V, but no problem with VirtualBox. Use this one, VirtualBox. This is better. Okay, because this way you have a little bit of, because we all are comfortable in the VirtualBox, right? So that way, see here. See, this is a Hyper-V and VirtualBox also. So you can work only one, either virtual Hyper-V or VirtualBox. So if you say I want to use VirtualBox, you have to disable this one. If you say I want to use Hyper-V, you have to disable this one. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. The next question. Sorry. The next question is, now the way we talked about Docker engine repository and different versions, is there any option to search for a set of tools in Docker Hub? For example, let's say I'm talking about Ubuntu plus Java plus Tomcat, then another two tools. Is there any option if I can create a combination of those tools and search for it?
Okay, first thing, remember that. Very first thing. Creating an image is just a 5 minutes of work. Should be. So what I'm trying to say is, I understood your question. Just give me 2 seconds. Creating an image, I'm just taking the fear out of it. Creating an image is just a 5 minutes of work. Searching is 30 minutes of job. That's the first. Second thing, remember that when you say HTTPD image, that means it has a certain root file system. I repeat, plus some users is running with that, and then HTTPD is coming. It's not directly only HTTPD. I have explained it to you multiple times. Without how can you run app without a dependency, and how can you run a dependency without a root file system?
Hello everyone, if you would like to access the remaining videos of this playlist of 50 plus more tools which are coming under DevOps, DevSecOps, SRE, DataOps, GitOps, etc. Kindly become our channel members by clicking on the joining button. You would have access to hundreds of playlists and 1000s of videos lifetime access with this membership. Enjoy.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.